You've come to the right spot. It's another edition of Lewis at Large. 60 minutes of smart talk radio is in your future, with guests from all walks of life and all points of view. And now, with this week's edition of Lewis at Large, here's your host, Warner Lewis.
Well, welcome back, everybody, to this segment of Lewis at Large Radio. Yours truly, Warner Lewis, once again from the flight deck. And that means Smart Talk Radio, again, is in your future. And we have today in this segment one of our favorites, Denise Winston. She is well known across the country for her passionate mission of educating all of us about our finances. She is a banker by trade for many, many years, worked her way up through the banking ranks, and then set out on a journey to really share with America, as she says, one person at a time, how to do things right financially, or at least get on the right track. And she is one of our favorites. And beyond this sort of bumbling introduction, Denise, how are you, my friend?
I am great, Warner. It is so good to be here with you again, with you and all of your listeners out there.
You know, your passion is finances. You do it via videos, you do it via books, you do it via personal appearances. I'm curious, Denise. You've been doing this now long enough. Go back to the first day you really started doing this, and today. Are we smarter now as a country, do you think, about personal finance?
I think that we are ready to be smarter about personal finance, and we've been through some tough times. And I left my banking career in April of 2009 just really going, man, people need some tangible, practical stuff. And, I think that I've been so successful through my workshops and books and all the TV show and all that stuff because people are ready, which is really refreshing to me to be able to connect with them on such a fundamental level.
Well, when you say people are ready, I'm curious as to you left in 2009, which obviously you were there at the beginning when everything hit the fan in the fall of 2008. And
Yep.
and I'm curious, number one, did that particular crisis have anything to heighten your desire to leave what you were doing and get out and start spreading the message and the knowledge that you have? And do you think people are more intensely interested now? Because quite frankly, back the last 5 years, they really got belly punched hard.
Absolutely, Warner. I left in 2009 because for many years I was a bank manager, okay, and I realized that I needed better educated consumers, not only in my bank so that I could have more people that could have a checking account and better people that could have a better credit score so that I could make more loans. But I also realized that if I had better educated consumers for my business, I could also help my business customers, and then consumers would be on the streets in my community making better buying decisions in our businesses, and together it would come together and increase our ability to create sustainable, workforce and everything else. And so I've been volunteering in the classroom for, 15 years for graduating senior high school students. And, when I saw these students out on the streets and they were giving me the feedback of what they learned and how good their personal finance situation was, that really inspired me. And I felt like when this last, crisis happened, I said, if this is working so well, and I got more and more requests, do you have a book? Do you have a workshop? Can you talk to my employees? Can you come here? I decided, it's my time. Clearly what I was doing was making a difference, and, it did inspire me to get out there and do even more. And I think the response has just been my validation that, yes, people are ready for those tangible things to take back control over the personal finance situation, because like the point you made, people have been socked in the gut, and it's very painful.
Yeah, indeed. And again, you've got to work out. This is one of several publications you've done, but it's called Money Starts Here, and I want to get into that a little bit later. But let's talk about that. And again, it seems like I say this almost every single segment of the show, but we do. We have a lot of baby boomers listening to this show, and you know that in 2008 and in 2009, they're suddenly thinking, my gosh, I am 5 years away, 10 years away, or 2 years away from a retirement plan or a semi-retirement, and I'm looking at a retirement situation now that I saved for my whole life that now is half of what it's worth.
Right.
That must have been a very interesting time for you as an advisor.
It it was really difficult, especially, when things came down to the wire. I'll never forget the day that, I resigned from Chase. Washington Mutual was taken over by Chase, and all of my customers that had all this money in the bank and the FDIC insurance, wasn't valid if they had over, certain dollar amounts, and the vesting on their accounts, and just the stress that everybody, was under. And I think, we all know somebody that, everybody out there listening, unfortunately, knows somebody that's struggling financially. And just being able to put some tools in people's hands to take back control and really align themselves to get ready for retirement because their balances are half the value. And I think part of the reason why it's so painful, like you said, being punched in the gut, is because we did what we were supposed to do, right? We were supposed to put our money in the market. We were supposed to do this, supposed to do that, and then look what happened. And I think that's why people are really ready to take ownership and take control and get themselves aligned. One of my specialties is helping people save money, and that's what happens when we get close to retirement. We've got to squeeze out every dollar and get ourselves positioned so we can make the most of those dollars in our retirement fund so that we aren't, in a really bad way, 10 years into our retirement. We've got to know how much we should be saving, how much we should be spending of that, and how to really reduce our costs overall.
Drifting off topic here just a little bit, but I'm curious, as being a former banker, in general, and let's look over the last 5 years or so, in general, do you believe the banking industry has been responsible and acted appropriately, or do you feel like there's been a bunch of mistakes made?
There's been a bunch of mistakes made on both sides. And, where we are now, we're under heavy regulatory guidelines now. The margins are getting much smaller for the banking industry. I was just in New York launching a TV show that I'm doing. It's called Money Made Easy. And, they had all the experts there talking about the trends. And, it's getting tougher and tougher for banks to make money because of all of the regulations that are there. And I think on the consumer side, the biggest thing that I really want we've got to take ownership as consumers. We have to be educated consumers, and we can no longer walk into a bank and say, how much of a mortgage can I afford, or how much of a car payment can I afford and get qualified for. We have to know our numbers, and that's why in my book I have these special checklists and, 4 questions to ask yourself and 12 questions to ask before you sign on the dotted line so we don't get ourselves in trouble again. Nobody should care about our money more than we do. And so that's why I'm on such a mission to really help people take back control and get themselves in a better financial situation. And unfortunately, Warner, you know more than I, we all know, money has the ability to affect so many aspects of our life. It's the leading cause of divorce in the United States. When you're financially stressed, it suppresses your immune system. So now you're sick more. It affects your productivity at work. So really, that's the dramatic impact of people's financial situations, and that's what I saw day in and day out over 25 years as a banker. I had to do something about it. I now have information that can really help people, and it would be wrong of me to just sit on that information and not share it.
If you just joined us, yours truly, Warner Lewis from the flight deck of Lewis at Large Radio. This segment, Smart Talk Radio, indeed, talking with one of our favorites, Denise Winston. She is well known as a financial education advocate. She is passionate about educating you, the consumer, for responsible use of your money, planning, all things personal financial. A brand new workout called Money Starts Here. Let's talk about Money Starts Here. Money does start in somebody's wallet, I guess. Tell us what in the world, what are we doing right, what are we doing wrong, and just take it from there.
I think we all know, and unfortunately this is the way I found it to work, people, they graduate high school, graduate college, they go out, they get their first job, and they start spending and saving. We are no longer teaching really money. Very few states teach money as a fundamental life skill, personal economics. So we go start spending and dealing with money, and we never really learn the essentials. How your credit score impacts your quality of life. How to avoid the common mistakes. How to so many people are being taken advantage of by, people. Somebody's out there looking to make a buck, and if we aren't careful and aren't educated consumers, they're going to make it off of us, right? So I had to do something about it, and that's why the book is out there, just as a practical guide so that people have a quick read. We all know somebody that's going to graduate high school, college, and it makes a great gift so that people have a resource guide to really, help them make some smart decisions when it comes to their money and not get in over their head. And even if we're in over our head, how do you get yourself out of debt? It's easier than you might think, but we've just got to stop. It's kind of, I related it to, being on, have you ever gone hiking?
You know what? I can't think of anything I'd rather do less, but yes, I have done that. I'm a golfer.
Well, let's just say that you've heard a story of these people that get lost in the wilderness.
Yeah,
right? They set out on a day hike,
and
they go, and next thing you know, they're off the trail, and they're lost they have to be rescued. That's kind of what happens when people get their first job, or before we find ourselves. We get our first job, we start spending, we get off the trail a little bit, we get a little further off, and we're just, following that beautiful skyline, and the next thing you know, we're in danger. And that's what happens when it comes to our money. We can be lured into and tempted by so many things and find ourselves in a real deep, dark spot. And we can't have that happen to our youth, and we can't have that happen to ourselves. We've got to be able to get ourselves back on track, whether it's getting rescued or find our way back to the main trail so we can find our way home.
Well, you make it all sound so darn tidy. Let's and again, I want to be careful here because we don't want to segment people too much, but the issues, Denise, obviously that a 25-year-old couple face versus a 40-year-old versus a 55 are dramatically different, or is that the wrong way to look at it?
I think that times have changed. The baby boomers that are out there. We still have, technology. I guess really what I've seen mostly is that technology has taken over, and almost everything we do is, online on our cell phones. A lot of people don't go to the bank anymore. The issues are different, but yet they're still the same. Everybody has to deal with money every single day of their life, and I think that there's some resentment probably from the baby boomers because, like I said before, they've done what they were supposed to do. They set aside money. They invested in the market, and then the young people coming in, they're not really sure. And unfortunately, what I've seen so many times is they're not even saving.
Yeah.
They're so worried about keeping up with the Joneses or just surviving that they're not putting money away for the retirement. And at least I feel like the baby boomers that are out there, they did put their money away. Now, whether or not they've been able to keep it, hopefully they haven't had to go into it to try and survive this turbulent time. But that's the part that scares me the most is that, unfortunately, our younger generation, the 25-year-olds, work a lot with corporations and going into doing workshops for them. And a lot of the young people out of school, and especially in the oil industry, they're saving a portion, but not as much as they should. And unfortunately, people don't realize that a portion of everything you earn is yours to keep. There's no reason to go to work all month, get your paycheck, and give it all away.
What about just, and here we go again, now we're going to drift towards education a little bit. What could the public school systems across the country be doing better to educate people at an earlier age?
That is such a tough one because my experience is I have talked to about over 10,000 students, senior graduating high school students, and the comment that I get most of the time is that they learn more in the 1 hour or hour and a half talk that I give than they did in an entire quarter of economics. And the challenge that I see there is that a lot of times the teachers may not feel qualified to teach the subject of personal finance. And also there's a lot of baggage that students carry with authoritative figures. You know how it is with teenagers. They don't want to listen to their parents. They don't want to listen to their, teachers. So I think that what the educational system could do is start earlier and make them more relevant and real world and give the kids a lot of experiences in the classroom. Unfortunately, we've gotten so far away from the basics. We're just really there, teaching reading, writing, arithmetic, that type of thing. But we're leaving out the fundamental life skills. It's great that you have a good GPA, but if you don't have a financial GPA, your credit score is your financial GPA, and that impacts your ability to get a job, where you live, because landlords look at it, getting car insurance. All of those things are critical about the quality of your life. So it's great that we've got, educated, people, but we also have to look that money is a fact of life for every single one of us, and we need some essentials. And that's what I'm out to provide people.
You bet. We're with Denise Winston, one of America's foremost personal financial experts, so to speak. And by that, I mean, that's a big, broad title, but her passion is educating all of us how to be more wise with our money, how to plan, and that we really can provide for a quality financial future. Denise, I'm curious, as you talk to baby boomers, do you hear a lot of, gee, I'm a little bit scared, what do I do? You must hear that a bunch.
I hear that, but I also hear a lot about their kids.
Yeah.
Their kids are back in their basement, and what do you do, and how do you wean them off of your 401k? And, it's not just us. And unfortunately, I'm a parent. My daughter's 23 years old. You can't, if you're helping out your kids, that is money that you should be putting into your 401k, especially as we get closer to retirement. The best asset that we have, a lot of times, is our salary. And the only way we can get a 10% return on our investment is to keep putting in 10%. Especially as margins are so much lower. So it really has a lot to do with our kids right now, and that's where we can give a gift to our kids, about financial education. And what I really see is that we're so busy as parents and we are so stressed out. A lot of times it's just easier to let them come back home, to take care of it for them because we're just tired. But we are sending the wrong message and really, sending the message to our kids that we don't think that they can do it. My daughter comes to me, she needs something. I'm like, you know what, honey, you got it. You know what to do. You don't need my help right now. And you know what? Somehow she has always figured out a way. And I think that goes back to one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about youth and the kids out there is because I've lived on my own since I was 16. And I get it. And I never had a security net. And I think that, that was a gift because there was no somebody else rescuing me. It's like you figure it out or you don't.
Yep, you didn't have a safety net, so you had to do it on your own.
Exactly, and I think that there are skill sets out there that there's resources for us to be able to have. We've just got to be at the right place at the right time and speak in relevant terms so that we can all get it. It's a lot easier than you might think. It just feels overwhelming, especially when you listen to all the noise out there.
Well, we're generalizing here quite a bit, but just again, in general, what are the 2 or 3 things that you believe, regardless of your age, everyone should be doing or be aware of? First
and foremost, we have 2 currencies in life. One is time and one is money. And you can make more money, but you cannot make more time. So spending our time, let's say that this has happened several times. People get a copy of my book. The last chapter is all about, how to spend less and get more. You learn one tip in an hour that will save you $500 a month. That is money that is compounds month over month, year over year. So really thinking about your time as a currency and how you spend it matters. Secondly, I think the most underutilized PowerPoint in our financial life is our credit score. If you have a really good credit score, you get a lot of perks. You get better loans, you get better, you can close deals, you can get all kinds of, I don't want to say special treatment, but in reality, you get preferential treatment. And the third thing is just understanding that, like I said, a portion of everything you earn is yours to keep. First off the top, you've got to pay yourself first because everybody wants a piece of your dollar at the end of the month. We've got to pay ourselves first, and it is your right. And I always say, the people get rich in the United States by taking advantage of the same opportunities that are available to every single one of us. Unfortunately, we just don't know what is available to us, and that's what I'm out to do. It's kind of like, you're familiar with FedEx, right?
Yes, I am.
Okay. When you look at a FedEx truck and you see that logo, most people don't know that there is a hidden arrow between the E and the X, and it's white, and when you're looking at it, you don't see it, but right now, the next time you look at a FedEx truck, you see that arrow, you're going to go, oh my gosh, she was right, and that's what happens with money. So many times you're familiar with it, you're looking at it, you don't see it, you just need somebody to point out some of the obvious things that you can be doing to improve the overall quality of your life.
What about, conversely, Denise, a couple things or some things we should absolutely not be doing?
You should not be charging anything that you eat, drink, or wear.
Okay.
I think what's happened with credit is that, credit used to be like a financial spare tire. It used to be, something people only relied on in emergencies. And unfortunately, in these times, because people have access to credit, is they use their credit card like their extra bonus paycheck. And because people simply don't run their numbers, they don't realize how far or off the mark they are and how far they are short each month. So we've really got to get that under control and make sure that we understand where we are each month. So, the other thing I wish that everybody would do is simply get their paycheck and divide their hours by their net hourly wage and figure out how much you are bringing home per hour for every hour you work. And that way, when you think about buying that $200, pair of shoes or jeans or whatever, you realize that you have to work X number of hours to pay for that.
Baby boomers love to spend money on recreation. We know that. And curious as to, and again, when we talk to Denise Winston, I never feel like we're talking to a stuffy banker. That's not at all what we think. But we are talking to someone that has very sage words of advice of how to, if nothing else, avoid total disaster. You got a thought about the what many would consider luxury spending?
I love nice things. Now, I'm known as one of the cheapest people in America, according to Reader's Digest. I do all kinds of things to save where I can so I can spend where I want, right? And I think that, like you said, you like to golf, Warner. That is your outlet. You've worked hard, and I think a lot of times we can justify why we want to spend, $100 on a round of golf, or, I love Maui Jim sunglasses. They're not cheap.
Yeah.
But what I realize is when I buy a high-quality item, then I am buying the company brand, and there's a good warranty. And, if I'm strategic about it and it's a classic that will last a long time, I try and think about it price per wear. If I buy a great pair of sunglasses and I'm going to wear them every day of the year and they cost, $200, the price per wear goes down, right?
Yep.
So that's the way I like to think about it. And when it comes to spending money on, golfing or experiences, I can tell you that experiences do not depreciate. Okay, you're not going to buy an experience. If you buy a handbag, that handbag might go down and depreciate. It's not going to be worth that. But when you tell the story about taking your kids on a vacation or when you went golfing, those things increase in value, and really the research shows that it does, create a bigger, better return on your investment.
So what I hear you saying is I need to spend every weekend at Pebble Beach.
Well, no, you cannot risk your future. You have to balance it. But, I think it's, we work hard, and you cannot, it's kind of like being on a diet. You can't, rule out anything all the time because it just makes you resentful and not want to participate in trying to, make better financial decisions. I think it's good for us to really strategically think about things and reward ourselves once we have accomplished X, Y, and Z. I like to carry an envelope in my purse and, put coupon savings and put things that I do money in that. And I like to put something on the outside, a goal of what I'm doing, so that when I finally get that pedicure or finally get whatever, I'm enjoying those savings and I've earned it along the way.
Well, she is bright indeed, one of our favorites, Denise Winston. She's one of America's personal financial experts. She speaks, has her own television show, undoubtedly blogs. She has a book out, brand new one called Money Starts Here. And before you get out of here, Denise, you're out there, so to speak, and readily available. Share with our listeners, if you would, number one, how can we get a copy of Money Starts Here? And then other ways that we can find out more about you and the message about teaching money matters.
The best thing you can go is go to DeniseWinston.com. And on that site, there's a direct link on the homepage that'll take you to Amazon. You can buy my book. And on my website as well, you can go there. There's free tips there where you can, there's a video learning page if you want to watch. There's a blog if you'd rather read. And really what I'd like to ask you or your listeners, share the information, share that sage financial advice. We need more people on the streets sharing this kind of content and what we know so we can improve the overall quality of our nation. Your listeners know more than they think they know. We just need to share it and provide practical tools. And the book's only $15. My wish is that people order the book, they use the tips, and they share that information with those that they love, with their coworkers, so that we together can make a difference in our nation's financial situation.
Well, thank you so much, and a continued great luck for you. Thanks for the work that you do, and again, would love to have you back again.
Great, Warner. Great to be here with you and all of your listeners. Thank you so much for the invitation. I've enjoyed being with you guys.
You bet. We will be back with more right after this on Lewis at Large.